Good morning, everyone. We're going to get started in just a little bit. We'll give it a few seconds for some folks to enter the room. See the numbers are going up. We'll give it just a few more seconds and we'll get started. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. So good morning, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar titled The On-Campus Student Housing Experience. While we would have loved to host you all in person at our regularly scheduled Welcome to CSUF Day, we have been working diligently with our campus partners to bring you a virtual Welcome to CSUF experience, which we hope will provide you with the many resources and information to help you prepare for your new exciting journey at Cal State Fullerton. Before we start today's presentation, we'd like to do some introductions. First, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Kristen Johnson, and I'm an outreach and recruitment counselor here at Cal State Fullerton. Today's presentation will be led by our Office of Housing and Residential Engagement. So at this time, I will go ahead and let them introduce themselves.
Hi, my name is Dennis Jackson. I'm the Associate Director for Residential Engagement.
Hi, my name is Andy Garate. I'm the Associate Director for Administration and Conference Services.
Hi, everyone. My name is Gina Bian. I am the Senior Admin Analyst here in Housing and Residential Engagement.
Hi, everybody. My name is Holly Alba. I use she, her pronouns, and I am the Senior Coordinator for Administration and Conference Services, so work in the office and the admin team.
Hi, everyone. My name is Luke Higgett. I'm the Technology and Communications Coordinator here for Housing and Residential Engagement.
Hi, everyone. My name is Megan Ayala. I'm our Event and Business Operations Coordinator in Housing.
Hi, everyone. My name is Ashley Ongalibing, and I am the Assignments and Access Coordinator here in Housing.
Okay, thank you so much for those introductions. Something I want to bring to everyone's attention is that throughout the presentation, we will be here to help answer your questions in the Q&A feature. So if you look below on your screen, you can click there and we will be there answering your questions as we go through the presentation. But without further ado, we will go ahead and turn it over to our presenters.
All right. Well, here you go. We have a presentation here. We wanted to share the positive, wonderful things about living on campus. And so we'll give you an overview of HRE. So there are many positive aspects of living on campus. We like to consider learn, connect, and grow as three major components of living on campus. And so when you live on campus, there's many opportunities outside of the classroom to learn from other people and experiences, cultures, connecting with folks. And so living on campus is almost like having a smaller university experience on a larger campus. So having all of the resources of a 40,000 plus environment, but that small community environment of 2,000 students. And then there are plenty of opportunities for you to grow as well. A little bit more about our communities. We have three different communities. We have our residence halls, which were built in 2011, and this is where our first year students will reside. It is a traditional setup with the common spaces in the middle of the room, and the rooms on the outside square. We have 54 residents per floor in the residence halls, and we have 1 RA per floor in the halls. You don't have to worry about which room to pick because it is the exact same layout in all 5 of our residence halls. There are community bathrooms on each of the floors, one of them being a gender neutral option. In the doubles, they are our community with the most personality. So they were built in the 80s, large bedrooms that you would share with someone else, and there would be 6 people per apartment. So 3 bedrooms with 2 people in each bedroom and 2 bathrooms. They are at the end of our Tuffy Highway, Tuffy Lane, and so has a really good view of the rest of the community. We also, there are about 36 residents per floor in the doubles, and you do have an RA on each of the floors. I'll talk a little bit more about RAs when we talk about our staff as well. In the single apartments, these apartments were built in the early 2000s. You have 4 people in an apartment that shares a kitchen. You live in 1 small bedroom. So 4 folks, 4 bedrooms, and 2 bathrooms. So you would share a bathroom with someone else. There are 1 RA per 2 floors, so about 48 residents per RA. The singles and the doubles apartments are open year round. So when we are closed for the winter break, the doubles and singles will be open as options for folks who will need that housing, maybe international students or for any reason that you need to be here during that 6-week or so period that we're closed. A couple of amenities that we have. We do have a University Police substation at the end of our Tuffy Lane, and so it is a good resource for folks, additional safety precaution. We also have an academic resource center where you are able to print for cheaper than you are on campus, and so lots of folks like to use that resource for that. There are also computers there that are available for you, as well as renting out equipment that you may need. So vacuum cleaners, things of that nature. We do have meeting spaces in our community as well. So you may have a club or organization that will meet in one of our spaces, or a class that will meet there as well. By the doubles, we have a sand volleyball court and a basketball court. It is pretty active, a pretty fun place. We do have a small fitness room in our doubles community. Some people prefer the small, quaint environment, but it is definitely not like the SRC, but it is an option if you want to work out close by. It is right by one of our laundry rooms in the doubles. So some folks do like to use it while they're doing their laundry. We do have 2 laundry rooms, one in the rest halls and one in the doubles apartments. And so pretty spaced out within our community. So there should be washer and dryer available for you. Within our singles apartments, we have some barbecue grills in our oval area. So it's a nice green space that folks like to hang out in and sometimes use those amenities. And then we also like to say that the Arboretum is our backyard. So you will have some great views from some of the single apartments. To talk a little bit more about our dine-in services, we do use Aramark here, and the Gastronome is our main dine-in facility. It is open from 7 a.m. to 8 p.m. And then we have the community market that also has long hours. I believe they open at 7:30 typically during the school year a.m. And will go up till midnight. And then late night dining is an option for you after 8 p.m. I believe it's 8 to 12 p.m., 12 a.m. A couple of the meal plans options that we have 4. The block plans are only if you live in the apartments. And what that means is every time you go into the gastronome, you would use one of your swipes. You could stay there for a couple of hours, but each time you go in, you would use a swipe. The 5-day and the 7-day continuous dine-in, the 7-day, you would be able to go in multiple times throughout the day, 7 days a week. So, you know, some folks like to go before class, get an apple, get some coffee, and then go to class, come back and have a larger breakfast. So you can continuously go in at any point. The 5-day continuous dine-in is for the weekdays. So Monday through Friday, you would have access to the gastronome at any point. We also have special events and catering, so you may be able to have Aramark's food at one of your clubs and organizations or events on campus. This slide has our housing, room, and board rates for the upcoming year. So as you can see, the price does depend on the meal plan that you need to have. For the apartments, only apartment residents are allowed to have a block meal plan. Let's see. You will also notice that the rates are divided into 6 installments. And so during the school year, the first installment is due on August 14th, and then August, September, and October, an installment will be due, and then January, February, and March. So the rate that you see for the area that you're interested in would be divided into 6. We do work with financial aid to help ensure that those payments are dispersed. Your financial aid will include all loans and grants and scholarships that you have, and it will be applied to the institution first. And then if there is any money left over, you will then get that money, but your installments will get paid first. Something to note is that many people's financial aid plans will not cover all of the installments. So there will be there may be some money that will come out of pocket, and you would be able to work with Gina to figure out some of those pieces, as well as financial aid. So housing and residential engagement is split into 3 smaller departments. We have admin, administration and conference services. We have residential engagement, and then we have facilities. And so we wanted to tell you a little bit about each of those areas. There are lots of staff members that are here on campus that will help ensure that you have a good experience when you're living with us. And so you met the Associate Director for Admin and Conference Services earlier, so Andy Garate, and a lot of his team members. A lot of the roles for Admin and Conference Services are related to the customer service pieces. So assignments, access, conference and event services, communication, Brandon. You may interact with some of our student leaders from the admin team when you come into the housing office and interact with our office assistants. So lots of folks here that are wanting to provide you a great service. We also have our facilities operations staff with another associate director. We have maintenance. You are able to put in work orders at any point. and our staff will come in and take care of those pieces. We also have custodian staff members that clean the community daily during the weekdays, as well as a groundskeeper and then student facilities assistants. So the main roles for these folks, again, custodial purposes, facilities maintenance, groundkeeping, emergency preparedness, and also construction management. And then you have the residential engagement staff. So a lot of these folks live within the community, so they are there for you. We have a couple of assistant directors that also support the engagement of your experience on campus. We have community coordinators who are our master level staff that live on campus and supervise our resident advisors. We have graduate student assistants that also help with the community programming, the academic engagement, and a couple of other pieces within our department. And then the resident advisors, some of the hardest working folks in our residential engagement staff. There are 44 RAs within the community. And so each student will have someone that they can go to, as well as a community coordinator that will help with their transition to college and Cal State Fullerton. So there's lots of programs that are put on, event planning. We do policy enforcement, conflict mediation is a big one. If you are not used to living with someone in a smaller space, our staff is there to help you facilitate those conversations and navigate that experience. We also have crisis response. So there are several folks who are on duty 24/7, 365 days a year. So someone will be available at any point if you need to have a policy enforced or if there's an emergency situation. We do have folks that you will be able to call. We also want to tell you a little bit about two of our student organizations. So Resident Student Association and National Residence Hall Honorary. Resident Student Association is can be compared to a student government for students who are living on campus. There's lots of positive things that they do, a lot of advocacy work and large-scale community programming to get folks connected to campus. National Residence Hall Honorary is also an organization that's focused on recognition, scholarship, service. So there's lots of community service opportunities available through NRHH. We want to encourage students to get involved within our community, but also with the community, the larger community as well. And so RSA, NRHH are great places for folks who want to figure out how to get involved when they come and live with us. We have a couple of themed communities within our community. So these are being able to live with folks that have similar interests as you. We have a themed community associated with every undergraduate college. So you will see those listed here. We also have a first-year connection for undeclared students, university honors and scholars. We do have a Rainbow House, which is geared towards lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, queer, and ally folks, as well as global engagement for folks who would like to interact with international students in a more intentional way, as well as the Athena House, which is a women's empowerment floor that will be in our apartments. And so hopefully you will be able to find a community that you feel connected to as an option for you. We also want to talk a little bit more about our academic engagement opportunities. There are several pieces that we want to help ensure that you have a positive experience outside of the classroom, but to also help you be successful in the classroom as well. And so one of those pieces is our faculty in residence program, which is Dr. Latasha Traylor, who is an assistant professor in our department of sociology. She has been with us for a couple of years. She lives on campus. She puts on programs and really connects with folks. You may see her eating in the gastronome. Very friendly, loves having conversations with folks, and so really engage with Dr. Traylor. We also have faculty mentors. There are lots of faculty members who want to engage with you outside of the classroom, but we don't have the space to have them live with us. And so they are part of our faculty mentor program. We'll have anywhere between 12 and 20 faculty members who will engage with folks through programming or office hours. So you will probably see folks, a lot of staff, faculty members within our community, either at a program or in the gastronome as well. We do have a new Pine Academic Resource Center that is within our community in the Pine Residence Hall. It is open to every community member, and that is a place where you may interact with a faculty mentor because that's where they do their office hours. We have tutoring for some subjects available there. So additional academic support. If you want to have a conversation with one of our staff members to process your academic experience, there are many folks that are there that want to engage with you and help you figure out how to be your best self. I do also want to highlight a couple of the policies. One of our main goals is to create a community that is conducive to your academic success. And so being able to enforce these policies helps create an environment where you are able to study, thrive with other folks, and be able to engage folks within the community. And so a couple of our major policies are listed here. If you are under 21, you are not allowed to have alcohol on campus. We are also a drug-free campus, so there will be no smoking. We also enforce quiet hours. We do have 24-hour courtesy hours, and so if someone is being too loud for your liking, we encourage folks to ask them to quiet down, and then we also have our staff that can help with that as well. We have a guest policy. Guests are allowed on campus, but we want folks to work with their roommate and to come up with policies that work for them in terms of how often folks can come and be in the room. You will sit with your resident advisor to create a room contract where you'll be able to talk through some of these pieces because that would look different for each room. Security is also an important piece to consider. You will need your ID card to get into any of our buildings. You also will use that same card to get into your room in the rest halls, as well as the community bathrooms. On each card, there's an individualized 4-digit PIN that you would also have to type in. And so it just adds another level of security to get into our community spaces. Weapons and gambling and vandalism is not allowed. We do have emotional support animal policy. So if that is something that you would need, then we do work with our disability support services. The only pets that are allowed are fish in a 10-gallon or less tank. And then if for whatever reason, you may have to talk to one of our staff members through the student conduct process. And so we want to have educational moments related to these policies that, again, help ensure that you have the best possible experience that you can have. And so here are some important dates for you all to remember. We have the apartment roommate selection, which begins in early June, so June 10th. The room selection will begin on the 24th. So it gives you a couple of weeks to figure out who you would want to room with. If you do not have anyone in mind that you want to room with, that is okay. You can pick your room on Wednesday the 24th. The last day to decrease your meal plans is Monday, July 13th. After that date, you would be able to increase your meal plan if you notice that your current meal plan is not working for you. The license agreement cancellation deadline is Monday, July 13th. And so that is a pretty important date as well. If you cancel your agreement before the 13th, then you are able to get out of your contract. Move-in information will be sent out in early August. We do have 2 move-in days here to help with the traffic. So this coming year, that will be Thursday, August 19th and Friday, August 20th. And then also notice that that first housing installment is due on Friday the 14th. So if you have any questions, we do have some time now and some of our folks will be able to answer some questions, but at any point when you're with us, feel free to email us. We have our information here. You can also visit our website and we'll have lots of information there. So these are some good resources for you. So now if we want to open it up to questions.
I think one of the common questions we're getting already is, as a theme here, is just, can you talk a little bit about what the plan is for fall semester, and with some of the uncertainty going on with COVID-19, what are the plans, and will the residence halls and apartments be opening for fall semester?
Great. So I am going to pass along to Andy to answer that question.
Yeah, and if Luke and Gina and Ash want to help me. So we are the team that have been working through the applications and kind of making sure we are responding to the emails you are sending us through housing. We know this is a question that a lot of folks have on their mind, and we are doing our best to be open to whatever happens with the university, and we are trying to plan as best as we can to support whatever we're able to provide as an option for housing for our incoming class of students. And so what that means is we have made a commitment to allow folks to, the initial payment for $350, if you would like that fully refunded up until July 13th, you can, if you apply now, you can get that refund. Typically what we had done in the past is it would be a $300, you could get $300 and we would keep $50. But at this point, we understand that there's a lot of uncertainty, and there's a lot of questions about what the future holds. And so we want to make sure to give you all that assurance that if you were to put the initial payment down, you could ask for it by that July 13th deadline. We also anticipate that they may change, that we may need to push that. We're not sure what that looks like. We know that COVID-19 has impacted all of us in some way or another. So we want to try and make sure we are as flexible as possible as we kind of move forward. Luke, would you add anything? I don't know, Asher, Gina.
I was actually just going to jump in, so that was good timing. I think that the simple way of explaining the situation is that if you are interested at all in living with us this coming year, assuming that we open at some point, if you have any interest in living on campus, just apply now. Like Andy mentioned, the initial housing payment is fully refundable up until July 13th. And if the status of fall classes changes before July 13th, if we hear something before July 13th, then we'll have some sort of update about what the rest of the semester, what the rest of the year is going to look like. So for now, all of you can apply completely risk-free if you're interested in staying with us, and we encourage you to do that. Before July 13th, we'll send you some updates if that information changes. That information might change to, we'll hold a spot for you in spring, or we'll hold a spot for you in October. We just don't know yet. So the simple answer is, if you're interested, just go ahead and apply. It's zero risk. You can get your initial payment back, at least before we have the next update.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off of Luke, we have the same amount of information that everyone else has, and we are going to work every step of the way to make sure that we're serving the students in the community. So we're not trying to profit out of anything. We are just trying to do our best, given all of the uncertainties. So we just thank you for your patience, because this is all new to every single one of us as well. But every step of the way, we are going to try to do what is fair and what is right, and continue just to provide updates. But yeah, I just wanted to share that we don't have that much information. Actually, we don't have any information right now, so we know as much as you all do. So we'll just check for updates. You can email us. If we have anything, we'll definitely post everything on our website and just update you all as we go along this ride.
I see that there are some questions that Luke is going to answer live. Would you like to answer those now?
Sure. So hello, here I am again. Okay, so we got a question. Any advice on students whose Cal grants aren't reflected yet in your financial aid award, but you want to live on campus in the fall, can't afford without the Cal Grant award? Go ahead and apply now. You should still apply. If you qualify for Cal Grant, you probably also qualify for a waiver, usually in some situations. So go ahead and just apply. And yes, our initial payment is reimbursed. It will be refunded at least until July 13, and we'll have another update for you before that. Will we actually be opening for fall semester? So we just covered that one. We are currently planning on saying yes, but we don't know what the future holds. Will we still have to pay for housing even if we start with online classes? Again, we don't know what that is going to look like yet. So if you are interested, like I said before, just go ahead and apply. And as soon as we have more information, we will make sure we get it out to you all as soon as possible. If housing isn't available fall semester, but available for spring semester, will we still have to pay the full year? Most likely not. If we don't open for fall, we probably will not charge you for fall, even if you move in for spring. So Andy's nodding at me, so I'm gonna say that's a yes. What is the refund policy if we're on remote learning? Like I said before, currently the only thing that we'd be refunding you is your deposit, because it's the only thing, or your initial payment, because it's the only thing that you would have paid. That information will change as we figure out more about what fall will look like. So I got a couple questions about cost of attendance, listed as about $8,100 per year. So the interesting thing about cost of attendance is that it's not actually related to what we charge for room and board. So cost of attendance is a statistic that's calculated based on tuition in Southern California and the cost of living in Southern California. So it's a calculated value based on what it costs to live in Orange County, not what our department charges to your account. So it doesn't always equal out the same amount. So that is why you're seeing a discrepancy between our rates and your cost of attendance. Will students be notified? Yes. On Dennis's important dates slide, we saw something about when roommate selection starts. A week before that, on I think it's June 8th, Ashley, right, is when we're sending out first-time freshmen room assignments.
It'll be June 17th, I believe.
17th, sorry, yeah. So June 17th, first-time freshmen will be told whether or not they have a space or if they are on our waiting list process, and then what our waiting list process looks like at that point. Cool, I think those are the ones that I marked. If someone else, I'm gonna type out responses if someone wants to take the rest of these questions.
Gina, do you have any other information you would like to share about the financial piece?
Sure. I'm just reading through the questions. They're coming in quite quickly, but let me
Gina,
see.
I can also respond to one piece. You know, I
Sure.
know that there's a lot of questions about the, you know, if we go virtual in the fall, and again, that is one of the options that has been talked about. You know, for us, we're also looking at various options and creative ways that we can also look at what happens if that were to happen. You know, and we would be looking at, you know, if people would be interested in holding their space, if they wanted to come live with us in the spring, what does that look like? And just holding on to that spot. And so, again, none of that has been fleshed out because we still don't know which direction we're going in. We are planning for all scenarios, but just wanted to let you know, I know some folks are concerned about that fall piece. So just letting you know that we are talking through various scenarios and how we can ensure that our students that are applying now would still have the option and at least the priority option to get a space to live on us when it is safe to live on campus with us.
Yeah, so I see, let's see, Edith's question. I'm just going to start from the top. So if I pay the housing fee now and we end up not being able to stay, will I get my money back? So we kind of talked about that. We will be giving money back. Obviously, if you're not living here, we're not going to ask you to pay for something that you're not here for. If you know you follow the process. So just like I said, just make sure that you know what the process is. Ask questions so that you know you don't get left behind or you miss something and then something happens later with your deposit or your payment, because that's not what we want. Jennifer's question about possibility being online, would we still have to pay the first installment? So like that's one of the unknown questions. It just depends on when we get that information. I mean, the first installment is due before move-in if everything is as planned, and that would be in early August. If we have information in June or July that, you know, fall semester is online, then we would have to change the process, and we may or may not ask to pay the first installment for those folks that are trying to move in. So Michaela's question about state grants, Pell grants, university grants, how much we have to pay. So usually all of those grants do help with housing, but housing is very expensive. Even with those grants, we do find that you will need either an unsubsidized loan, a subsidized loan, perhaps a parent plus loan to help cover the cost of housing. So this is one area that we highly, highly recommend that, which a lot of you look like you're doing. You look at the cost of attendance and, you know, you have that package, but as Luke touched upon, that's not really, it's not the most accurate data. So you are going to have to go into our housing website, look at the rates. If you're a first-time freshman, look at which meal plan you're going to choose between the 5-day and the 7-day, and then look at your financial aid package. Deduct all your grants and your loans and find out what your out-of-pocket costs are early on. That is very encouraged. We want everyone to do that because that is a really good question. Even with all of those grants, it's not enough. So that's a great question. Edith's question about getting my housing fee waived, if she's talking about the housing initial payment, the housing initial payment is waived if you have an EFC, which is called expected family contribution of 0. And that is through your FAFSA. So if you have an EFC of 0, then that applies to your housing initial payment as well. So if you don't pay an enrollment deposit, then you're not going to pay a housing initial payment. If you have any discrepancies or questions, please email housing@fullerton.edu, and we are helping students on a case-by-case basis. I don't know if any of my rest of my team want to take some of the, I'm just going from the top down. So if anyone wants to jump in and take questions, feel free. Otherwise, I'll just keep going.
Gina, there was one about triple rooms. Do you want to talk really quick about what the triple credit looks like?
Oh, are there any benefits? Okay, so Christina's question about benefits to living in a triple room. Yes, there are benefits. So the triple credit is on a prorated basis. So depending on who is in the room with you. So in the perfect scenario, you are in a triple room with 2 other people. So 3 people all together in the room. And if you're there for the entire year, each person will get $1,600 as a credit back to them. So we don't see this as, let's say, well, I have to pay $1,600 less upfront. It's once the semester ends, we see who has been in that room for that period of time, and we will issue a credit to the student account. And that really helps too. So it is $1,600 a year if all 3 people are in the triple room for the entire year. All right, let's see. So off housing for students. So right now for on-campus housing, we have our housing community, which is on campus. But if for some chance you don't get a spot, there are a lot of off-campus housing options for students, and that's separate from our department and Cal State Fullerton. You would have to sign individual leases with those companies' leasing offices separately, but there are a lot of apartments in our Fullerton community that a lot of students live in as well. And let's see, is Melanie's question about if we take out loans, will they cover the meal plan payments or the housing payments? So the housing payments encompass the meal plan and the room. So there's no real separation. It's separated in your student account to some degree, but the loans and the grants, it just pays them off, and there's no really distinction. If you owe for your meal plan, you owe for your housing payment. So it's just kind of together in one. Someone asked, can the credit, I think it's, I don't know how to say that name, but can the credit be used as a deduction in the next semester installment? Definitely. I'm assuming that you're talking about the triple credit, and yes, that is what most people opt to do. So for the fall, if you get $800 because 3 people were in the room the entire time, then you can just let that roll over to the spring semester, and then your spring semester payment, housing payment, will be $800 less. So that is definitely an option. And do you all see any ones that you want to jump in and answer? Let me see. The installments can be paid using grants and not just out of pocket. Yes, so whatever grants and financial aid, so your grants and your loans and whatever that comes through first, that is going to be paying your housing payment. And also you really want to be cognizant of when those financial aid payments come through. So if you are late in the FAFSA and you're doing your financial aid, or you thought that you owed less than you actually do, and then you end up having to take out a loan later, there is a $30 late fee per installment. So you can be charged up to $90 a semester for late fees. And we don't really take into financial aid consideration. So you do want to make sure that you calculate your out-of-pocket costs early on, and that you apply for your loans early on before the installment due dates are due, so that you don't get charged a $30 late fee. For the triple credit, are you referring to the entire school year or the whole year? So when we're talking about just all of our housing rates, and when we're talking about anything, we're always talking about the academic year. So that starts August and it ends in May. Luke says, the school has already stated that the school will start online. Will people still be allowed to live in the dorm and then have move-in during August. So actually that has been something, I don't know if Andy or Dennis, you want to take this one, but yeah, I mean, right now there's nothing that is confirmed. I know that there has been some publicity out there that have been talking about things, but that is not confirmed. We are not confirmed to be fall online. And like I said, I don't, the question went away, but yeah, we will take it as in stride as we go and be doing our best to serve you all.
There's a question about if both roommates need to request a micro fridge or just one. So only one person needs to request a micro fridge.
Okay.
There's also just a simple question on how many residential buildings are on campus and how many students do they house. So roughly we have just under 2,000 bed spaces total, and that's divided between both of our residence halls and our single and doubles apartments. So we have, 6 residence hall buildings that house just under 1,100 first year freshman students. And then the rest of our bed spaces would be between both of our single and doubles apartments. So in total, just under 2,000 beds.
Thanks, Holly. Brennan's question. So yeah, thank you for acknowledging all of the unknowns. But if we do not start right away in August, let's just say everything is safe and we decide, all right, we are going to resume as normal in October. No, you will not have to pay for the time that you weren't here. So like August through October, for example, if that were the case, you wouldn't have to pay for the time that you weren't here. I hope that answers your question. Oh, the lots of microfridge questions. Does anyone want to answer some of these microfridge questions?
I can answer them. So over the summer, Microfridge, the company, will start contacting confirmed residents that have a bed space. And you are more than welcome to request one. Like Dennis mentioned, there's only one allowed per residence hall room. So it's completely optional. The cost will be will be on their website. And you'll get that more information during the summer. And so again, they're not required. You can bring your own mini fridge onto campus and each roommate can have one. But microwaves are only allowed if you have the microfridge unit. However, each residence hall floor in the common room has a community microwave to use as well. So to answer Isabella's question, so if you'll be notified June 17th of where you're assigned and who your roommate is. And so you can connect with your assigned roommate then and decide if you all both want to split the microfridge, bring a microfridge, and make that decision then. That's typically around the time that microfridge will start contacting students to offer that option as well.
In early August, you will receive a packet or there will be information where you can see the PDF of a packet that will be useful for you to read through before you come to campus. There are a lot of a suggested packing list and items that are not allowed to, you're not allowed to have on campus. One of those pieces is any item that has an external heating source. And so in our res halls, you would not be allowed to have those kitchen type appliances that have an external heating source. The apartments, you are allowed to have some additional appliances, for example, a toaster, because you have that kitchen setup. And all of that information will be in that packet.
Just to jump into Steven's question, if fall is online, are you guaranteed a spot in spring, or does the process start all over? Again, we're exploring all options. But I think for us, we would be looking as that June date when we would try to notify first-time freshmen and other folks if they are on a spot or on some sort of waiting list. We would work through that. If we had to go through virtual in fall, we would probably work on connecting with those students who already have a space and looking at would they want to hold that spot, and kind of figuring out what some sort of wait list would look like. Again, all scenarios that we're working through right now. I don't foresee us starting from scratch, but I don't want to rule it out just yet. But
So I'm seeing one question. Are there resources that we're providing to students looking to get housing off campus because we don't, you end up not getting a space in our housing and you live out of state? We are working with a third-party service to have a sort of like vetted nearby off-campus housing listings where you can also connect with other Cal State Fullerton students to find roommates. That service is not up and running yet, but it will be listed on our website as soon as it is. So hopefully we'll have that resource available for students who we don't have space for. If we want to select a roommate, do we complete the housing application first? Yes, selecting or specifying, requesting a specific person to be your roommate is part of the housing application. If you're a first-time freshman, you can only request somebody that you already know specifically. Otherwise, then we are assigning you a roommate. If you are a continuing transfer or graduate student, you actually will participate in a roommate selection process where you can go and search and read profiles about people on June 10th. But if you're a first-time freshman, you don't go through that process. You either select a person or you request a person ahead of time, or we assign you a person. Is there a kitchen set up for the residence halls? So we only have kitchens in our apartments for our continuing transfer and graduate students. The residence halls have a sink and a microwave in the active room on every floor. Other than that, there is no kitchen in those buildings. So that's why, that's the reason that first-time freshmen aren't allowed to select those block meal plans. They have to have the continuous meal plans because you don't have the kitchen to make your own food. So you have to be able to eat a healthy number of times per day.
We had a question about, are we allowed to say how many spots are available for the singles apartments? And so it's not that we're not allowed to talk about how much space we have open. It's just that all assignments are based on a first eligible, first served kind of priority system, which is kind of a balance between the earlier you apply, the better your chances are to receiving housing with us, but also you have to meet the eligibility requirements for that housing. So for the singles apartments, to be a continuing student, if there's a theme community that you're interested in, regardless of what community you want to live in, you have to meet the requirements for that theme community, such as meeting the major requirements if it's a college theme community. So knowing that there's kind of those eligibility requirements, we'll be looking at the entire pool of applicants and using that first eligible, first served priority to fill the spaces. So it's not that we're not allowed to say how many spots there are, it's just a little bit more of a complicated answer than that. So the sooner you apply, the better the chances are, as long as you meet the eligibility requirements.
yeah, Ash, do you want to go more into that?
Sure. So a large portion of the eligibility requirements is, as Holly mentioned, your major, but it also breaks down into your gender identity as well. And then it also, as Holly mentioned, the date and time in which you applied. So we strongly encourage students to apply as soon as possible because it helps your chances with being placed. And so for those folks that are in the residence halls, really important in regards to applying as soon as possible. Your major will be one of the major determining factors of where you're placed. And then for our single and double apartments, we have a couple of identity-based theme floors. So as Dennis mentioned, we have Rainbow House, which exists in our double apartments only. For continuing students, we do have a Rainbow House floor in our residence halls this year. And then we also have a new themed community floor called Athena House, which is only in our single apartments. So for example, if you're applying for Athena House and you only want to live in the doubles, you're not going to meet that eligibility requirement to be placed in that themed community floor. So if you have any specific questions about themed communities and how that's placed, you're more than welcome to email housing@fullerton.edu and we can answer those nitty-gritty specific questions you have. So Isabella's question is, if you edit your choices, will that alter where you live in the fall in line for housing? So we're allowing students to make changes for their themed community choice and also for their room style. So for example, folks that are living in the apartments, you're able to select a single or double and change that up until May 31st. After that, you will have to send in a request. We are locking that date because after that date, we will start determining where we're placing students. So from now until May 31st, you can make all those changes you want and it won't alter your place, quote unquote, in line for housing.
There's a question about how close are the residence halls to the pharmacy on campus. And so the Student Wellness Center is really close to the residential area. There's a little crosswalk that you would cross. I would say it's less than a 5-minute walk. Okay, so we are coming to the end of our time. If there are any other comments folks would want to say from Housing and Residential Engagement, we want to thank you for taking some time to get to know a little bit more about us, and we hope to see you on campus.
Thank you so much, Dennis. And I just want to just thank the Housing Office at this time for sharing with us all of the great information that you all shared today. I want to let everyone know this webinar will be recorded. It's going to be posted on our Welcome Day website at fullerton.edu/welcome day. So if you missed it or you have some friends that missed it, they can actually go back and check it out. And we ask that you do follow us on social media at CSUF Outreach for further updates. We'll also have information about some of our upcoming webinars that will be coming up in the future. Also, we will be sending you a survey at the end of this webinar. Your input is very important, so we do ask that you take some time to go ahead and fill out the survey. And again, thank you all so much for joining us. Have a great day, everyone.
Take care.